From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
President Trump unveiled his new infrastructure plan today. We take a look into what this means for everything from roads to reservoirs here in Arizona.
Plus, a Valley church has given sanctuary to a man who faces deportation so that he may stay here with his sick child and pregnant wife.
And today's State of the Nation's address called for unity between Washington and tribal governments. Arizona's tribal leaders are responding.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Fortessa Latifi.
And I'm Chancellor Johnson. Thank you for joining us. In the State of the Union address, President Donald Trump promised a $1.5 trillion investment in the nation's infrastructure. The president released details of his plan at a White House meeting today with state and local officials, including one Arizona state senator. Cronkite News has team coverage on what the plan could mean for our state. Let's start with Shelby Lindsay in the nation's capital.
I'm halfway between the White House and the Capitol, where Democrats have had a colder response to the infrastructure meeting this morning. But inside the White House was another story. The $1.5 trillion plan will actually involve only $200 billion of federal money. That is supposed to generate the rest in funds from state and local governments or private investors. A key part of the White House plan is cutting regulatory red tape to speed permits on construction projects. Arizona State Senator David Farnsworth said cutting red tape will give taxpayers a better return on their investment and make them more willing to fund projects.
If we can show people that the government actually can get things done, then when we propose a small tax increase to cover infrastructure, I think they'll be excited and more than willing to do it.
Trump said the U.S. is having a hard time getting money to rebuild its roads and bridges, and faster permitting will help attract private funds.
It will speed the permit approval process from 10 years to 2 years and maybe even to 1 year.
Democrats blasted the plan, saying it would result in more tolls and fewer environmental and other protections. Representative Raul Grijalva said the plan is a little more than tired Republican talking points. In a prepared statement, he said, "Local communities, not big corporate developers who solely care about profits, should have a voice in where a road or highway should go." But Farnsworth is hopeful, saying he's already eyeing an East Valley Freeway project he hopes to move forward quickly.
We have Santan Valley, which has over 100,000 people, and they're basically stranded there without a freeway. And so I'm really hopeful that we can see movement both in State Route 24 and also the north-south corridor that will connect the State Route 60 with Interstate 10.
The infrastructure plan is part of the $4.4 trillion budget that was released today by the White House. Live in Washington, Shelby Lindsay, Cronkite News.
From roads to reservoirs, from bridges to broadband, Trump's infrastructure plan could impact every way of life here in Arizona. Reporter Olivia Richard is tracking the state's project most in need of improvements.
When it comes to infrastructure, Arizona's state ranks amongst the worst. That's according to a report released in 2015 by the Society of American Civil Engineers. The Grand Canyon State received a C rating. We use it every day, and chances are you don't even think about it. Bridges, transit, roads, and levees, all of it, all called infrastructure.
Everything you do, at some point during the day, you're gonna run into infrastructure. Like when you're walking across the street or driving on the street, you have infrastructure. When you're getting a glass of water, there's infrastructure that delivers that water to you.
And according to the most recent report card released by the American Society of Civil Engineers, Arizona's infrastructure could use some work.
A C, I mean, for most parents, if your kids bring home a C, you're not jumping up for joy. But in context of the national report card, which was, I think, a D, we're not doing that bad relative to that.
The Trump administration's proposed plan would allocate $200 billion in federal money to fix the nation's aging infrastructure using a 20-80 matching funds split, meaning
80% coming from state and private entities. And so with that being the case, that would mean we'd have to raise $40 million, or $40 billion to match the federal government contribution. So in that case, I mean, it's a pretty big hill to climb.
Worlton says the state needs to make the investment.
If we want to see our continued growth and being successful in attracting new business and new residents to the state, then we need to be willing to invest in infrastructure that is long-term and sustainable.
We reached out to ADOT as well. The Assistant Communications Director tells us that the additional federal funding would likely speed up the projects listed in the 5-year construction program. Live in downtown Phoenix, Olivia Richard, Cronkite News.
We're also looking into the budget allocation for President Trump's proposed border wall. The first stage of Donald Trump's proposed border wall in the Texas Rio Grande Valley would be 65 miles long, costing an average of $24.6 million a mile. The proposal sets aside $782 million to hire about 2,000 U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers and 750 more Border Patrol agents. Today, Trump said he didn't want to have DACA as part of the budget deal.
If the Democrats want to make a deal, it's really up to them, because we want really tremendous border security, but we have to have Democrat support for DACA, and they are starting that process today.
Meanwhile, a Glendale man is at the center of another immigration controversy. He was set to report to ICE today to be deported. Instead, he is taking refuge in one of the valley's places of worship. Adriana de Alba has the latest.
Jesus Berrones is staying here at Shadow Rock United Church of Christ in Phoenix. It serves as a place of sanctuary for undocumented immigrants facing deportation.
Yes, I have to be here.
Jesus Berrones and his family have been inseparable since he entered this church. He's the father of 5 U.S.-born children. One of them, 5-year-old Jaden, is battling leukemia. He refuses to leave Dad's side, afraid that he will be deported to Mexico. His wife is 5 months pregnant.
They need me so much that because I'm the only one that works, they need my protection.
Berrones entered the church last Friday. He was brought to the U.S. as a toddler and considers this country home. He's the breadwinner of his family and works as an air conditioning repairman. He says there is no future for him in Mexico.
It's going to be hard, knowing that he's far from us.
Immigration Customs Enforcement typically will not enter a house of worship to arrest individuals. Berrones was arrested in 2006 for driving with a fake license and has been deported back to Mexico twice. The Shadow Rock Church has provided sanctuary to 7 undocumented immigrants, including Berrones.
He crossed the desert twice in order to be with his family. And instead of criminalizing him or demonizing him, he probably should be commended for the kind of parent he is.
Berrones hopes ICE will cancel his deportation order so that he can remain here with his family.
Berrones says he intends to stay here for as long as he needs to, and in the meantime has an attorney working on his case. In Phoenix, Adriana de Alba, Cronkite News.
We reached out to ICE for a comment. They said they will be putting out a statement soon.
At his State of the Nation's address today, the president of the National Congress of American Indians renewed calls for better relations between Washington and the nation's tribal governments. That message resonated with Arizona tribal leaders. Cronkite News reporter Ariana Bustos has more information from our Washington bureau.
Gila River Indian Community Representative Franklin Pablo Sr. says he hopes lawmakers were listening to today's address.
It's very strong, and I hope that basically the senators and congressmen were listening, because basically we need that unity to have that collaboration between tribal and the federal side of it.
The tribal-federal relationship was a key point of the address by NCAI President Jefferson Keel.
The first principle is to honor and affirm the federal-tribal relationship. This goes back to the very beginning of the United States. Tribal governments have always worked directly with the federal government, not through state governments.
Pablo says the address hit all important points, but there is no single approach for dealing with Indian country.
Well, it addressed a tip of it, but not all of it. But the reality is each tribe is unique in their own reservations in their own government, but also within their own issues.
Pablo is optimistic for the future of the Indian communities and says the NCAI gives a spotlight to important issues.
Overall, Indian nations are strong, but the reality is that we still struggle here and there, but also is that for this NCAI, this is a place where we come to make things stronger for all Indian nations to address some of these issues.
Reporting from Washington, Ariana Bustos, Cronkite News.
Today's State of the Nation's address kicks off 4 days of meetings by tribal leaders with cabinet secretaries and lawmakers in Washington, and working sessions on everything from the Violence Against Women Act to the Farm Bill.
3 British tourists were killed Saturday when the helicopter crashed near the Grand Canyon on the Wallapai Reservation outside of the boundaries of the national park. Due to extreme winds and rugged terrain, the 4 survivors involved in the deadly helicopter crash weren't able to evacuate until Sunday morning. This as crews are still trying to recover the 3 bodies. Survivors have been taken to hospitals in the Las Vegas area.
Phoenix police are utilizing a system provided by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. This system is helping them solve cases involving gun violence. The National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, also known as NIBIN, is a system that focuses on what happens inside of a gun. This technology uses a new 3D HD machine where the task force inserts the physical bullets and casings to get digital images. By entering this image into NIBIN, they can compare those images with others in the database to link the gun from one crime to others.
So because the technology is getting better, it's making us more efficient, it's making us more accurate, more timely, with the goal being is if we can link these otherwise unassociated events together, then we can get in front of the next shooting. We can take the guy off before there is a homicide. That's the goal.
Phoenix police used this to link 9 murders together within 2 days of arresting a suspect in a series of murders between Thanksgiving and the New Year.
Playtime is more than just a fun way to keep kids entertained.
It's also a way to help check for developmental concerns in children. Coming up on Cronkite News, how One Valley Preschool is implementing a new program to test kids for developmental delays through playtime.
Plus, separation of church and state is an important issue across the nation. Why some Arizona organizations wanted to remind legislators of that at the state capitol today.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickenburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Local farmer Tim Dunn has been chosen to replace former Representative Don Shooter in the Arizona House of Representatives. Shooter was a Republican state lawmaker who was expelled due to sexual harassment allegations. The Yuma County Board of Supervisors selected Dunn to fill the position in the 13th Legislative District. Dunn is a grain and vegetable grower who also runs a seed marketing business. He will be sworn in immediately and will serve through the end of the year.
Voters and organizations gathered together for Secular Day at the Capitol. The event featured lawmakers, guest speakers, and advocates who support the separation of church and state.
We are an organization that exists to hire a lobbyist. We lobby in behalf of church-state separation issues. So we're looking for secular public policies. We meet with our legislators and our public officials, and specifically we're looking for them to promulgate laws that do not take specific religious beliefs into account, but benefit the whole public.
To you, it
doesn't have to be limited to church-state separation issues, although I do hope that...
One of the bills the coalition opposes is Senate Bill 1394, which will require women to state the reason they are obtaining an abortion. Quintina says it victimizes marginalized communities by restrictive laws.
Under the Individuals with Disabilities Act, all schools are required to provide services and resources to support childhood development. But one school in Phoenix is taking a different approach to screening children for developmental delays. Cronkite News reporter Megan Meyer takes us to Faith North Preschool to give us a closer look.
Laughter, smiles, and playtime. All of these are in abundance here at Faith North Preschool. But the school has another mission beyond providing a positive environment for its students. It has a unique area to help check for developmental delays in students, part of the program called Arizona Find.
When I was pregnant, we knew she was going to be special needs. She's missing 2 parts of her brain. When she was in the age bracket to be screened to get her IEP started and to do all that stuff, we had her early intervention coordinator. They look up the school and they found this one, Faith North, and they thought that she'd be a really good fit here. And so this is where we started, our starting point was.
The center was able to screen Tolman's daughter Cassidy during playtime because of the unique setup the school has developed in order to make the process fun.
The type of data we collect in these play-based environments really help us for kids, even if they seem to be developing on an appropriate path. We can sometimes sit down with the parents and address their concerns based on what we've seen here in a way that maybe they have not have thought of before.
According to estimates gathered by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 15% of children ages 3 through 17 have 1 or more developmental delays. That is why it is so important that schools like Faith North are providing services to help educate parents on the right steps to take.
The earlier we can screen them and identify any areas of potential delay, the more we're able to provide the appropriate support and services so that later when they do come to kindergarten, they experience more success.
With sessions held every other week, Faith North says it's able to screen around 100 children each year. In Phoenix, Megan Meyer, Cronkite News.
Arizona State University was just one of many participants in the Pac-12 Zero Waste competition.
Coming up on Cronkite News, which university will be crowned for diverting the most waste from the landfill?
Hyman's host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
It's a different type of Pac-12 challenge with the reward of sustainability. The University of Arizona and Arizona State faced off with schools from across the western U.S. for a zero waste event. Brooke DeGambia takes us to the winning campus.
There is a big push for sustainability on college campuses, and the Pac-12 is at the forefront. The conference holds a zero waste competition, which crowns the university that can divert the most waste from a landfill and use innovative, sustainable techniques during a single football game.
Getting athletics to think about environment is two groups that don't usually focus with each other.
Mike Carey has judged this competition for the last 3 years while overseeing a recycle program at a local community college. He believes contests like this help address waste problems and get people thinking about ways to help the environment.
I'd love to see it grow, and I like the competitive nature of it. I like them competing against each other, especially rivalry schools.
USC was recently selected as the Pac-12 winner for the second year in a row. It happened during the Utah Trojans game last fall.
Volunteers diverted 90% of waste while a green Recycle Man mascot walked around and engaged with fans. The band also cheered when people threw away things in the right bin.
90% is considered zero waste. It's an achievable goal. If USC can do it, the rest of the schools can too.
USC is part of the Green Sports Alliance, which inspires professional sports to go green. Randolph U thought it was important to start a sustainability club on USC's campus.
In the last 100 years, we've had great, economic booms and progress and all of that, but that comes at a cost. And I do believe that we need to be, more sustainable.
In Los Angeles, Brooke DeGumbia, Cronkite News.
To help achieve its zero waste goal, ASU implemented a reusable cup program that allowed people who brought a cup to get free refills at every athletic event throughout the year.
Well, the clouds have been hanging around the valley all day.
Now the question is, will it rain? Holly Bach is checking our forecast.
And a cloudy and cool day it has been out there today. Now, some parts of Arizona have already experienced some rainfall, even snowfall up north actually, but not anything here for us now in the valley. And although it has been pretty chilly out there, we have seen cloud coverage throughout the entire day. And in Arizona, we can't complain too much about our cool temperatures because we were the third warmest state in the U.S. today, just behind El Paso and Miami. And the folks up north, 2 degrees in Bismarck, North Dakota, and 3 degrees in Billings. And now, right now we are sitting at 65 degrees here in Phoenix, 66 in Tucson, and 33 degrees in Flagstaff. Now, as we continue through our night, our low here is going to get to the 50s. However, as we rise back up tomorrow evening, we will hit 70 degrees in Phoenix just around 5 p.m. tomorrow. Now, because of the winds that are blowing up from the south and there is a weather system coming in from the northwest, we are experiencing high levels of moisture, which might give us a chance of rain here in the valley. In fact, tomorrow there is a 30% chance of rain here in the valley. Wednesday and Thursday, there will be a 20% chance. And on Friday, we are clearing out of all rainfall. And that was Cronkite weather.
An Israeli self-defense class is on the rise here in the valley.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how women are using Krav Maga to fight back against sexual harassment.
Cronkite News weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
Fridays, it's at Cronkite News, your social sharing connection where you choose the news. Facebook likes and shares, tweets, retweets, and favorites. YouTube views and subscriptions. We're watching you, watch us. From our digital home at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to your television, web browser, or mobile device. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Then join us for At Cronkite News, our weekly refresh, each Friday at 5 on Arizona PBS.
The Me Too movement and many sexual assault accusations have sparked awareness and action around the world.
Here in Arizona, some women are making moves, literally, to protect themselves. Reporter Nicole Gutierrez has the story.
Women come in after the fact that they've been attacked.
At the East Valley Krav Maga Training Center, people, specifically women, are practicing an Israeli self-defense system to not be victims of any assault.
Everything that you learn is kind of broken down for you, so you try it slow, then you try it fast, then you try it with a partner. And it was a very simple method so that anyone from any background, any age, any physical fitness level could learn in a shorter time frame.
Krav Maga is a fighting system that was developed for the Israel Defense Forces. But here, it teaches students to use parts of their body in effective ways to target the most vulnerable parts of an attacker.
The most common attacks on females are things like choking and bear hugging from behind.
Hofrichter says it doesn't take a lot of muscle power to get out of a situation. You can actually use your body to leverage yourself out. Assault at times may derive from cultural backgrounds, according to Hofrichter.
Male, in our culture, males are told not to hit women. You don't hit your classmates. And so it kind of creates this mentality where you cannot hit a woman. But then sometimes more in adulthood, in that moment of frustration, hands on the neck all of a sudden is okay.
A recent poll found that 60% of women in the U.S. have been sexually harassed. Hofrichter says that although many students who've come into the class have never experienced a type of assault, for some women who have, it's important to build their confidence up.
Maybe we're practicing a drill where they have to have their eyes closed and then they get attacked. Maybe take away the eyes closed portion of it and build her up from there.
In Tempe, Nicole Gutierrez, Cronkite News.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS.
Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
Horizon, why more Americans are getting comfortable with the idea of self-driving cars. And we'll look at the concerns over free speech on college campuses. That's the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour. With Russia's presidential election a month away, we talk with a Putin challenger. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.